haven't heard from Josh. I got a bunch of texts. What do you think those?
That thunder picks up our mics pick up all that thunder too. That's fun.
There I am. So so it's letting me. So I tried on the riverside.com. I tried riverside.com and it said no. And then I went to the app. It had me reinstall do a new update and install the app. And that's what I sent you a picture of. And it was saying nope.
Right.
And then I went back to riverside.com and it let me in as a guest. But I'm here now. Woo!
You're here. You made it.
I made it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let you. They're like, this guy we got to make him a guest. We don't know what's happening here. We got to make sure he's got the right status.
That's it.
That's it.
I'll take any status. Do I get status?
I texted Luther the same thing. I texted Luther, like I did the corporate move, Josh. I texted Luther the picture of the banner. Like you can tell I've worked in corporate America for too long. I'm like, I swear I'm not lying, guys. This is not.
I sent him a picture as well.
Yeah.
Mine didn't have the banner, and I wasn't that good.
My go-to, and that's what I think. I'm like, dude, I just don't want any doubts here. I promise.
Yep. That's what I do. That's what I do when I'm like stuck in traffic. I send a picture of the vehicles.
100%.
The line of vehicles. Stick my hand out the window to get the whole line.
I do it with a current newspaper in hand, so that can be in the picture too. So it's.
That's right.
Oh, that's funny. I once had a boss that, like, if you were late, there's this app called Marco Polo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't record it. It's just live. So whatever you record, it sends. So you don't get to edit it.
Right.
And she would be like, send me a Marco Polo. And she, like, low key would, like, micromanage people to death with. I'm like, why? You really don't trust your people like that, huh? Okay. Wow. That's pretty terrible. I'm not going to lie.
What was it? A picture? What would you have to send?
It's a video. You record a video, but when you are done recording the video, it sends. Like, there is no.
Yeah, you don't get a chance to edit it, and they can see it live.
Oh,
In fact, they can start watching it while you're recording. They can start watching it.
Right.
So like you might not even be finished recording to watch it. Kristen uses this all the time with some of her friends. They enjoy instead of texting back and forth.
Right.
They Marco Polo back and forth all the time.
Yep.
So just brief videos.
Oh, it doesn't have to be brief. Let me tell you.
Chris is just sitting there. What are you doing? I didn't even remember I was on this thing. I just minute number 7.
Yeah,
she's talking to Parker. She's like, Parker, what, babe? I think your friends have been watching you for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just 30 seconds delayed.
I was just looking around making sure
Marco Polo.
making sure Kristen wasn't in here.
Yeah, that's right. It is kind of fun though. To use when you use it the right way, not for the way that my old leader did. But yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, that's not a good leadership tool.
No. Well, I thought she was having fun with it at first, and then somebody on my team sent her something, and she was like, "Did you see so and so? That was a video. They were wearing that shirt yesterday." And I was like, "You need a." And I told her, because her and I have a decent relationship, and I was like, "You need a hobby, dude. Like, you know where they wear yesterday? Like, what is happening right now?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "I'm not calling my employee and being like, I need to know what shirt you wore yesterday."
Bro, I wear the
So I can
same
verify.
6 shirts, so
That's what I said.
It would be on me.
100%. I was like, dude, I'd be in trouble. That's the same shirt. If that's the qualification for not being honest, that's a bad thing for me.
Isn't that such a first world problem? It's so funny. I have a closet full of clothes, and what I reverted to is just covering them with plastic. Because I was like, I don't use these, but maybe 10 years from now, I'll use one of these shirts. And so I just got some of those dry cleaner plastic things and just cover them up.
I figured out, this was like a year ago, I bought like hangers, or Christina bought hangers or something. And I just got like semi-convicted. I was like, why do I need to buy, dude, so I just started making a decision. Like, if I get to the point where I'm throwing away hangers, I'm donating shirts. Like, I have enough hanger. There's no way I need this many. I don't need to buy hangers for more. You just have too much stuff. So like, just donate it or get rid of it or something.
It adds up so quick.
Yeah, it's silly.
I call it all work shirt. I have work pants, so all my pants, they end up getting holes somewhere or something in them are stretched out, and so now I've got like 10 pairs of work pants. And Kristen's like, "When you gonna use all them work pants? Why don't we get rid of some of them?"
I've still got a ton of button downs and ties because we used to do full suits at my job. We had full suits, ties, the whole thing. You couldn't take off your tie. There was none of that. Now it's jeans and a polo.
Really?
You know, in the last 5 years, it's changed. We take off our ties for try to take off our ties, and the boss would show up. You know, so you'd have it just loose. You wouldn't like fully take it off, so it'd still have the loop. You know, so you could throw it on and tighten it up.
That's good.
And the boss came around.
That was my intern. When I interned as a youth, like I interned under a youth pastor for my internship in seminary with stuff, and it was full suit and tie every day, every morning. There, we were there at 6:30 in the morning, and I had to be full suit and tie, ready to go 6:30 a.m. with it as a student intern. Like, man.
Wow.
The first job when I started at ADP, it was a suit thing, and I had the suit that I got. This is not an exaggeration. I had one suit that I got when I was 13 when my grandfather passed away, and I was like, that's all I got. Like for like 4 months, like that I wore that and just had to like mix up shirts enough to hope nobody noticed. Like they didn't. Like, but when you're 25, you're like, oh my gosh, you think everyone's got like a closet, like a designer or whatever. Yeah. Nobody cared what, like nobody, right? And
everybody's too focused on themselves.
Exactly.
They don't care.
They're not paying attention to me.
When you're young, like it just doesn't, like certain things don't compute. I remember we had to be clean shaven. So I went into this meeting at our corporate office. We'd only go there once every month or two. And I forgot to shave. So I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? So I went out. I had a disposable razor for some reason in my car. And I dry shaved my face with this disposable razor. And I still remember it because it was just painful. And you know, I was red all over after I was done, and that was dumb. And I looked up, and there's like the VP's window is like right there, and I'm freaking out. Like they're up there looking at me. But you're right, nobody cares.
Your VP was probably watching you being like, wow, what is he doing to his face?
That kid doing?
Sounds, this kid, we got
probably a group. All the directors.
Guys, get in here. What's this guy?
This stupid 24-year-old.
6 months later, HR was like, facial hair should probably have a place somewhere. Like, we can't be having people dry shave in the parking lot of a Georgia building. Like, this is not good, guys. This is a lawsuit waiting to happen. Somebody's gonna get nicked in the face with a dry shave razor.
It's funny though, you know, that I was thinking about it, and you know how they used to, you know, back in whatever 1700s, they had the wigs, you know, that was their thing. And that wasn't unusual. The dudes everybody's wearing a white wig, long hair wig. And that's what ties are going to be, you know.
It's true.
Give it 2 or 3 generations, they're going to look back and like, can you believe that they all did? They all just wore these like nooses around their necks. Yeah, whatever.
And they design them, and they like cost $40 for some of these things. This is wild what they were doing. They had numerous of them, like a lot.
A closet of them.
I heard.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That
was a good one.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago, and the woman that was on the podcast has done like extensive research on like Tesla and Elon Musk and stuff. And the guy, it was a podcast about AI and all that stuff. And I thought it was interesting. Flying cars came up, and he said, "Do you think flying cars will be a thing like the next 5 to 10 years?" And she goes, "Oh, 100%." And the guy was like, "Really? Like, tell me why." And she as straight face and as matter of fact, which I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but she was like, "Why do you think he's having a rocket be able to land itself? He wants like the technology that he's using in the rocket, he's gonna use in cars." And she was like, it was almost like it was common knowledge. She was saying it like, what do you mean? Like, why, you know, his whole thing is to go to Mars and to colonize Mars. But like, he's going to use the technology just like he did in the first Tesla. That was $200,000 to make more commonly used Teslas. And so it was like a very fascinating like take on it where she was like, yeah, the technology he's using to land a rocket back on Earth. Like, and I thought it was just an interesting interesting take from someone that is like in that space.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I do think autonomous cars are all. I love driving in a Tesla, and letting it self drive. I think that's super cool.
I've never done it. I've never.
You can just go get in one. They're like parked at the Buc-ee's or at the Holiday Inn, and you can literally get on the app and be like, I'm gonna test drive it, and you don't have to talk to anybody, do anything. Your phone just opens it up, and you go test drive it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, and they've got full autonomous, everything on it.
That's super cool.
It's super fun to do. We're looking into one for our next car.
Yeah, that is cool. I did see that same conversation. That lady, he was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a whole economy. Like, think about it. Like, your car, you're gonna go out of town, and you're gonna be able to like Uber drive your car, and your car can make you money while you're in, Mexico for a week, and it's just gonna be able to be a taxi. You make like it's a fascinating. Like, it was such a cool take.
Yeah, like at nighttime, they're just gonna pull out.
Yeah,
the car's gonna
She
pull
was
out
like-
of the driveway.
Yeah, she was like legit. Like, she was like, that's what I think's gonna happen.
You
It's
give
like
your car a
cars are-
curfew. You're like, all right, here you go. This is I don't want you going here. You got to be back at this time. All
Pretty
right,
wild.
and
Yeah.
don't mess anything up.
Yeah, pretty wild. Like, you can't go beyond this radius of my house. Like, I don't trust you. I don't know. Brookeshire's a little shoddy, so we're gonna go east, not west, to Fulshire. I don't know. Like,
I don't need my car to be another child. Oh man.
I've raised all my kids.
Oh, hello, Mitch. I know
What's up, Mitch?
we'll formally welcome you onto the podcast here in a second with it, but welcome. We see you there.
So
right,
I've
well-
never done a podcast before. I'm intrigued to see what this is all about.
Well,
oh, we make it easy. Luther asks you 17 very pointed questions that he gives you 36 seconds exactly to answer them. It's very interesting. No, it's very.
Sounds like
It's just like you're hearing now. We're
sounds like
pretty
a
busy.
Tuesday. That's-
what's nice is we know as much about being on a podcast as you do, so which is it's just not
True
much.
story.
We can learn this together. What caused you guys to start this? Oh, silence.
Think
This is Luther's baby. That's why me and Josh are giving him the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I originally came up with the idea. I don't know how I came up with the idea. That's kind of a good question. I don't know. I just come up with crazy stuff. So that's kind of what I did. Just decided to start a podcast, and I was doing it, and did one recording with a friend, and I was like, no, not good. This isn't gonna be good, because I'm just not I'm not quick enough to think of stuff. Like people like John, that are like super quick-witted and just like can just come up with things really fast. I need people to fill in those gaps for me, and these guys are a perfect team. We're a perfect trio. So we recruited them, and
I think all of us are interested in stories and people's stories. We're all interested in
Yeah.
the community in which we live, and so we said, man, that's a great idea.
We are people of stories.
Yeah.
We are. I mean, there's I don't know. There's a more profound way to connect than through stories. So I'm a big fan of it.
All right, well, I'll get us started. I'll do a quick intro for you, Mitch, and then I'll throw it over to you to say hello, and we'll get rocking. Sound good?
That sounds good.
All right. Welcome to Faces of Fulshire. This is the podcast where we share the stories behind the people that make our community special. Today's guest is Mitch Peairson, a longtime Katy resident, coaching pastor at Southstone Church, and a true storyteller at heart. Mitch and his wife Elizabeth have been married for 41 years, raised 2 wonderful kids, and now enjoy life as proud grandparents. Mitch is working on a Book of Life series called Saddle Up Anyway, and serves on the board of Living Water International, helping bring clean water and the gospel to communities in need. Despite losing his right hand at 16, Mitch has been intentional about not letting life's challenges stop him from living life to the fullest, running marathons and skydiving, even rounding up cattle in West Texas. Today we'll hear about his journey of faith, family, and service, and what it really means to live life all in. Mitch, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, welcome, Mitch.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You said everything already, John. I don't know.
gave it all away.
Even John, the way you say West Texas, like it was like you had to get in there. You like had to.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, you got to get in character at West Texas.
West
This is
Texas
different.
is the only place I know that the word yes is 2 syllables. Yeah,
That's good.
2-syllable vowel. I like it.
yes.
Mitch, I gotta say, with your name, we obviously we texted and wrote back and forth, and I kept thinking Brett Favre because your last name, you have to spell your name so many times to people. It has that silent I in there
It,
that
it,
is
it,
sneaky.
and here's what's really frustrating about all of that. I just a couple of years ago did some family research. I really didn't know much about my dad's side of the family. So I began doing research, and I took it back actually Civil War and slightly before. But what I discovered is
Wow.
my great grandfather, Frank Mac Pearson, apparently was not a nice man, and he there was word, kind of underground in the family of a black sheep, and apparently that was Frank Mac because he left Arkansas, moved to Oklahoma, and added the I into the spelling of the last name. That was going to throw off the law. I mean, seriously, it was Pearson until Frank Mac left in the dead of night, moved to Oklahoma, and he threw that extra vowel in there because he just knew that was going to be all it took. And I guess it worked because they never came and got him. So all that, I've been told that, it's Swedish, it's, some kind of Nordic spelling. No, it's just Frank Mac
Yeah.
running from the wall.
You can make it whatever you want. I mean, if you wanted to spice it up. I mean, that's a pretty good story, though.
Yeah, well, that right up there with I'd been told for years that there was Native American blood in me, and a few years ago did the DNA test and not a drop. So my whole life's a lie.
What do you have behind you there? Are you a hunter or what
No, it's a
skin do you have?
cowhide. I'm a cowboy wannabe. Uh, so I've got, that little memoirs thing I'm working on, Saddle Up Anyway. That's from my favorite John Wayne quote. Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. And so what you're not seeing is all of my John Wayne memorabilia up here. It's a bunch of it, and almost none of it I purchased. And I preached a sermon years ago and talked about John Wayne and him being my hero. And John Wayne stuff started showing up at my office at the church, and so I have a heck of a collection um, hanging up on my wall and stuff that's kind of special to me. But that's a cowhide hanging on the
That's
wall
awesome.
behind me.
When it comes to your book with stuff, Saddle Up Anyway, it's is that all? Is it all your stories from
Yeah,
your family, or is it just
it,
how you
it's
grew up?
yeah. No, it started with my daughter wanting me to share stuff about our family and about my life, and so she set this thing up where whenever I feel up to it, I log in and create or throw another memory down on paper, and I've got, I don't know, 40, 45 of them collected so far. So she's gonna hate giving me that before it's all over, because I'm gonna make her read them.
Those are great memories, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that's a cool thing for the family.
Yeah, so I'm interested in your background. Like, so you're originally from Texas. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your parents?
Um, Back to the Oklahoma story. Both my mom and dad grew up in Oklahoma. They were both farm folks. When they got married, they were farm folks. And then my mom, at some point, a few years before I was born, decided she'd had all the farm folk she wanted. And so she and my dad and my two oldest brothers and my sister, who was still in the womb at the time, they loaded up and moved to Beverly, except it was called Pasadena, Texas. And so that's where I was born and raised. And I lived in Pasadena my entire growing up years in one house. Uh,
Wow.
the fourth of five kids overall. Blue collar family. My dad didn't graduate from high school. He got his GED at some point along the way. Mom was, they were both brilliant people. I mean, brilliant people. She went to secretarial college after she got out of high school, and she actually ended up with a really cool job. She was back when it was a secretary, not administrative assistant or executive assistant. She was the secretary to Bill Walbridge, who ran Channel 13 here in Houston for many, many years. So I got, as a kid, I was kind of a station brat. I got to go up to the station all the time and hang out up there and meet Kitterick, Bunny Orsack, who was a great friend of my mom's, and Cadet Don, and so anyway, it was fun. It was a great childhood. Pasadena was actually a great place to grow up. Graduated high school in '77. Went to University of Houston. Got my degree in business there. I met my wife shortly after that. She was out there the same time I was, but we didn't happen to cross paths until I had graduated and she was in her last semester. We met in May, and by the following June, so 13 months later, we were married, and here we are 41 years later. It seems to have worked out okay.
Where did you guys meet?
Okay, she loves me to tell this story. We met in a nightclub.
At a nightclub.
Yeah.
I bet she does love this story.
He does.
She's going to be so excited when we air this,
Every
Mitch.
time I tell this, she just thinks it's really special and romantic. It was a place called Confetti over in the Galleria area, and I'd gone there one night after work, and she was there with a bunch of her girlfriends from the University of Houston dance department. Elizabeth, gifted dancer, ballet, but she was getting a degree in dance at U of H. And so they were out there one night, and I saw this incredibly gorgeous brunette across the room. Went over and talked to her all night, talked her out of her phone number, called her up, asked her out, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah. We met in May of '83 and married in June of '84.
Very cool.
Well, take us back a little bit before that. Take us back. I know you said something interesting happened at the age of 16.
Yeah.
When you were working with stuff, and so give us a little bit about that story.
So where I grew up, there was a shopping center right at the end of the block, and it had a grocery store in it. And I got a friend of mine who worked there told me they were looking for somebody to help out in the butcher's department, and so I got the job, and I would go in the evening after the butcher's wrapped up and would clean everything. Clean all the equipment, it was 16-year-old, first time job type work. And one night I was cleaning the big industrial hamburger grinder, and that was kept back in the freezer compartment of the meat department. And had it taken apart to the last section of it, which was the big main screw that ground the meat into hamburger, and the screw was stuck. So I stuck my right hand down in it and grabbed the front of it to try to pull it out, and it had a foot pedal control. And as I'm working on it, I stepped on the foot pedal.
Whoa.
Turned it on.
Wow.
And yanked me into it. Now, I immediately took my foot off the pedal, but by that point I was in it. And I was actually stuck in the machine. It turned counterclockwise, and so it clamped against my arm. But that was also a blessing because it acted like a tourniquet and kept me from bleeding.
Wow.
16 years old, by myself, in the freezer compartment, stuck in a hamburger grinder. Whew. And I remember so vividly, I just said, "God help." And I looked over my shoulder, and the main wrench was within reach, and I grabbed it, took the two main bolts off, slid that whole piece off the machine with me still in it, and walked out into the main grocery store, and some poor woman's out there trying to pick out something for dinner for her family. And I was like, "Ma'am, could you call an ambulance? I've hurt myself." So
Oh my.
ambulance was called. They came and transported me, but I knew I'd lost my hand the second it happened. I mean, I couldn't see it exactly, but I knew how deep I was into the machine. I knew how powerful it was, and so while I'm waiting for the ambulance, I'm telling people around me, I've lost my hand. So there was nothing to do to save it. I lost it right at the wrist. It's called a wrist disarticulation, so my arm fits into this case all the way to here. So all they could do was clean me up. So I woke up that night after the surgery in a room with my mom and dad, and I turned to my dad. I said, "It's gone, isn't it?" And he said, "Yeah, son, it is." He said, "But you have an opportunity few men have. You can prove what you're made of.
Ooh.
Now the only question for you is, what are you going to do with your opportunity?"
Your dad was John Wayne in that moment.
Yeah. You know what? Tomorrow is 50 years to the day. I just thought of that.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad was John Wayne. He was big and strong, brilliant, but it devastated him. But I had the gift, guys, of an incredibly loving family, nuclear family. My parents stayed together until they died. I had a great church family. I grew up going to Ritchie Street Baptist in Pasadena, and my parents told me, well over 100 people from the church in the waiting room that night at the hospital there in Pasadena. And I had a great circle of friends who to this day we're best friends. I call them the guys. There's 4 of us, John, Dean, Martin, and me. And we're best buddies to this day. And so I had just this great support system to latch on to and be there for me. And I'm always been so grateful for the fact that I had God and family and friends to get through something like that. I preached on this more than once, but a few years ago, I had a kind of an epiphany that is as incredible as my dad was, as incredible as his words were. He was wrong on one thing. It wasn't really an opportunity for me to prove what I was made of. It was an opportunity for me to allow God to prove what He's made of.
That's good.
What He can take us through if we'll let Him. So I never let it slow me down. I put on my first hook the day before I started my junior year in high school. Showed up, didn't draw any attention at all. But decided to go with it. I ran for class office my junior year. My slogan was, "Don't be a schnook, vote for the hook."
Oh my gosh.
You embraced it. You embraced it.
That's
And I won.
fantastic. How could you not with that slogan? Come on. I would have been best friends with the other guy and told my best friend, buddy, listen, I don't know.
I got to vote for the
I don't know how to help you. I got to do it.
I'm not a schnook. I'd been very involved in drama already, and so I just continued. In addition to the hook, I had an artificial hand that was it's very rudimentary. I mean, this was the sum total of its function. But I would wear it for productions, and that junior year was 1976, and so we were doing George M. It's the life of George M. Cohan, who wrote Yankee Doodle Dandy and all the patriotic songs, and it was just a fit. And I had the lead role. This is a true story. Opening night, I'm wearing my artificial hand, not the hook. Opening number, and I feel something's wrong. And I look down, and this is a bit of a sense of it, and the hand has somehow come disconnected, and it's doing this by.
Oh, wow.
So, what
Hanging
do
down.
you do? The show must go on. So I just slapped that dangling thing under my arm, finished the song and danced with it, ran off stage, swapped out the hand for my hook, and finished the show. And I know people in the audience going, "Wait, George Cohan had a hook? What?"
That's what I was going to ask. Did everyone in the audience know what was happening? Like the situation, or were they like?
It depended. Some
Yeah.
people did and some people didn't. My mother surely did.
Yeah.
Bless her heart, she was a wreck. But it was just another story, in life of,
Wow.
what are you going to do? You can either, the old, make you better, make you bitter thing, but it really is just, we're going to get dealt hands, and you got to play them. No pun intended, by the way.
Nah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Was there anything that you were doing at the time prior to that that you were excluded, maybe sports or, whatever that you were excluded from because of it?
Not excluded. I was ambidextrous. I wrote left, played sports right, and so I had to learn, how to throw a ball all over again. But I was blessed. It really never slowed me down, and and you just figure out how to get things done. You may do it differently, but it really never stopped me from kind of doing anything in there. I can't shuffle a deck of cards. I'll admit that. But beyond that, I
Yeah.
mean, I can pretty much do anything I want to.
What do you do for handshakes?
I watch what you do.
Mm.
I mean, I start to stick my left hand out, and then I just kind of watch what you do, and and it usually is this weird convoluted. Somebody's going to finally win. But
That's all right. That's what I do anyway, and
yeah,
I haven't lost my hand.
yeah.
I do that awkward thing all the time. So
If
He
everybody
does.
was
It's very
in
odd.
a circle, John, I would have figured that one you would be the guy.
listen, I go for the fist bump. Josh goes for the handshake.
Yeah.
Luther tries the high five. None of it. It's
COVID,
all kinds of all
COVID,
over.
now COVID added a whole new layer to that, didn't it? Am I going
Yep.
to
Yeah.
shake your hand?
Yeah.
Am I
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
fist bump? Am I just going to stand back 6 feet and wave gently at you
Yep.
so I don't blow on you? I don't know, but
Then the elbow had a moment. The elbow
elbow
had a
Yeah.
little bit, that had a
The
second.
elbow had a moment.
I'm just saying the elbow had a second there
It
where
did.
it was like, that's my
It did.
move, right?
Yeah.
For like that 3 week window, they're like the elbow's far enough, but not close.
yeah,
It was like, yeah.
And then the cool factor ran out of that, and we just
Yeah.
moved on.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what we would do it at work, and we would wait. Like if we had, it was based on seniority. So like the higher up in the company you were, we'd kind of like wait to see were they doing elbow or fist bump.
Higher up.
The most awkward thing, but we wouldn't do anything until the higher up decided, what body part they were going to use.
Somebody please put out a memo and tell us which way we're going with this thing.
That's right. What are we doing with our hands?
That's hilarious.
So, Mitch, I want to ask about the pastoring. So you got into that when in this
I,
timeline?
yeah, I saw business degree from University of Houston. While I was in school there, I started working in the commercial real estate industry. I was broke, broke. So I was working 2 and 3 jobs while I was getting my degree, and I was working on campus for the chancellor. And an alumni was looking for a tutor for their kids. So Barry Muniz, who was the chancellor at the time, gave me this guy's phone number and said, "Call this guy. He's looking for a tutor." So I called him, drove out to his house in River Oaks, and kid from Pasadena, I didn't even know such a thing existed as River Oaks, and ended up getting the job tutoring the 2 boys, and I did that for years for Don. Don Mullins was his name. He passed away a few years ago, but summer rolled around. He asked me what I was going to do, and I told him I didn't have a job lined out. And he said, "Well, come to the office. We'll figure something out." And so that's literally how I fell into commercial real estate. And I did that for a long time. Worked for Don for a number of years, worked for Gerald Hines for several years, worked for other firms, and just kind of worked my way up in the industry. When I got into it, it was a terrible time to be in commercial real estate.
I'll say, yeah, your interest rates were over 10% and
Oh,
all the
listen,
fun.
when Elizabeth and I bought our first home in 1984, our FHA 30-year loan was 13 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
I mean, that's not fun. Prime rate was like 21, 22%. The savings and loan debacle had happened. The price of a barrel of oil dropped to the floor. But for some reason, I thought this was a great way to make a living. And so I did commercial real estate until I was in my 40s. I had a good career. It got involved in the nonprofit world while I was doing that, though, because there's an organization called the Building Owners and Managers Association, and there's local levels and there's state levels and there's international levels, and I got real involved in that. And I was the president of Houston BOMA for a couple of years, president of Texas BOMA for a couple of years, and so all of that kind of culminated in my early 40s. I suddenly started getting what I have learned to term it as holy discontent. I wasn't unhappy, but I knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And we were very involved in our local church, Grace Fellowship, here in Katy on Mason Road. And I had jumped in once we joined the church in a pretty significant way as one of those super volunteers. I board of trustees, and I chaired the capital campaign for our first worship center. And the senior pastor, Jim Leggett, asked me as a volunteer to help develop a new structure for leadership. The church leadership had gotten kind of bloated and not particularly effective. And so I put this plan together, and we had a big leadership team meeting, and it was awful. First off, the change is a four-letter word often in the church. And so it was one of those nights that went on forever. And we had a vote on what was going to be an acceptable vote when we finally got to what was being proposed, and which was 73.6%, by the way. And anyway, it failed.
Nice round number.
Yeah.
Nice, easy, clean cut.
Yeah,
it's very
failed.
clean.
Yeah, no, there was no rounding up or rounding down, gentlemen. It was the number. It failed miserably, and yet I came home that night. I was so late. I woke my wife up. I said to Elizabeth, I said, I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm being called into ministry. And she went back to sleep.
It's like, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well,
Cool story,
what do you want for breakfast tomorrow? Like, what are we doing?
A day. I wish I knew for sure. It was either 1 or 2 days later. Jim called me, this senior pastor, and said, "Hey, meet me for breakfast tomorrow." My radar went up because anytime Jim wanted me to meet him for breakfast, he wanted me to do something. I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "Just wait." So we got together the next morning at that gourmet location called IHOP there on Katy Freeway, and he said, "I've got a crazy idea." He said, "I'd like you to consider being Grace Fellowship's executive pastor." I said, "Wow. Well, isn't that interesting?" Because just the other night I'd come on and told Elizabeth I feel like I was being called to work, into the church. And he said, "Well, isn't that interesting? Because my wife said to me this morning that if your church term, your fleece is going to be, if Mitch is already thinking this." And so it took us several months to get there, ultimately, because again, change. You're bringing in a position that was 25 years ago. The executive pastor was still a very new role.
A new concept, yeah.
And plus, I was not seminary trained. I didn't go through, that process. And so for some of the members on the leadership team, it was a pretty far bridge. But one Sunday morning, Jim and I were talking about it. It really looked like it wasn't going to happen. And we just said, "Hey, that's okay. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And if it's not, it'll, when it's the right person, the right time, it will." And we prayed about it together. And that was it. And then within 24 hours, it was all worked out. And the board had come to closure and offered me the role, and I accepted it. And so I moved into that new arena of ministry. But I was the executive pastor is about what you'd expect. I was over facilities and finance and human HR and communications, and I led the pastors on staff, and it was that kind of role, which is still very much ministry. But what I told people all the time was I get to take everything I learned in the business world and put it to work for the kingdom. So what a win.
Super important. Yeah. It's a great role.
I did that for almost 20 years. And then in late 20, I just came to the conclusion that my season was done. And I let Jim know, and I thought actually I was retiring in March of 21. And I did some consulting for churches and had fun with that. And when I decided it was time to leave Grace Fellowship, we decided it was also the right thing to do to leave the church. As much as we love Grace Fellowship and the people there, it was like, whoever comes after me does not need the ghost of executive pastor's past wandering the hallways. So we ended up at Southstone, which was Church of the King at the time. The name changed a year or so ago. And we fell in love with the church, and just, we said we want to go someplace where nobody knows us. So it's about 15, 20 minutes from our house. And of course, we knew half the people, it felt like. But got involved as volunteers. And then, I don't know, 2 years plus ago, Jason Robinson, the lead pastor, came to me and asked me if I'd come on staff for a little bit, as the church was in a massive growth phase, and I'd been through that. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm the coaching pastor, which I started out full time, and I'm now down to a couple of days a week. And I think in that background info I sent you guys, that coaching pastor is code for old guy on staff. Uh, but it's been fun, and it's a great young team, and the church is growing immensely, and we're about to open a second campus in September. So it's been fun, kind of re-experiencing that excitement of a young church that's growing like wildfire.
That's awesome. And you also do, I saw that you do a lot of work with Living Water International. Tell us about that.
I'm passionate about that. It's a nonprofit that's about to celebrate its 35th anniversary.
That's awesome.
And it started in Africa with some oil patch guys who were sitting around with an idle rig and surrounded by desert and thirsty people. And so they asked themselves, well, I wonder if we could use this rig and drill and get water to these folks. And it was not something, and I wish somebody other than me was here to tell this story, because I know somebody else could tell it better, but it was not something that happened overnight, but they were relentless. They knew God was calling them to do this, and so they finally got the hang of it and brought in their first active water well. And fast forward to today, and we're in 15 countries, 35 years in existence, hundreds of thousands of people, blessed with the gift of clean drinking water. Our approach is we partner with the church, both the local church here in the United States and the church in wherever it is that we're trying to bring clean drinking water, which has been a great formula to get the local churches partnered with the churches in the countries where we serve. And we develop what are called WASH areas: water acquisition, sanitation, and hygiene. Because we learned over time that clean water is a start, but it's not enough. You've also got to teach sanitation and hygiene. One of our big celebrations is when an area is declared open defecation free. Which is a strange.
Sounds good. That sounds good.
It's not something eat a cake over, but you celebrate it because it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And hand washing and oral hygiene and all that, we teach all of that, and it really makes a difference in people's lives. I got invited to go on a drill trip to Honduras however many years ago, 15 years or so, and I fell in love with the organization. I fell in love with the work they were doing, because it's this great combination of clean drinking water and the living water of Jesus Christ, bringing people what they need where they are. And literally, we can look at reality of what's happened in and through living water, and God has allowed us to serve hundreds of thousands of people.
And it's great the way that it partners, like you said, with that local community with stuff.
Absolutely.
About 10 years ago, we were able to go in and put a well in Honduras, outside of Saba, in Honduras. And it was beautiful, partnering with the local men to help do the well and the project there. And a lot of the women, are around there. They're making meals and making stuff for you, and you're just enjoying. And it was a week of just, even though we didn't speak the same language necessarily, we speak very little Spanish. That was there. There was such camaraderie that was happening in that moment, and such levity around the well, and then playing some soccer, and then hanging out, and then celebrating at the end.
I got a chance to take my daughter with me on a trip a few years ago, and it was a remarkable experience for her to see firsthand the work of an organization that I love so much. And one of my favorite memories of life is going to be, she was she was the only girl in the crew on the trip. And so Ann is great with people, and so she was in the village working with the sanitation and hygiene team, teaching all of those lessons. And she was a rock star to those kids in the village. But I think my favorite moment is our last day as we're getting ready to leave. We had a service, a celebration, because we did bring in water, and we were handing out at the end of the service Spanish language Bibles, and Anne was handing those out to the women, and every one of them, kissed her on both sides of her cheek and hugged her, and it was just, okay, this is good stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I'd love to take my kids on a trip like that. So it's
If
open
they're
to
14 or older,
families?
you can do it. I can hook you
Okay.
up.
Absolutely. Yeah, my youngest will be 14. He's 13, but that's cool. So you said they're helping with the local people, and I guess to some extent the drilling is probably a rig or something like that
Yeah,
for the
we've got, and we're things, as circumstances change, models and practices change. We're moving more and more into what we would call more complex water projects, piped water projects, rainwater reclamation, that type of stuff. But the singular well is still a big piece of what we do. And we've got truck mounted rigs scattered all over the world.
I was going to say, and even it was the drill team was actually they were all Honduran, like all of them. They were all in country people.
We hire and train our main drill crews, our rig crews, in the countries where we're placed,
Okay.
and then we send teams to join them to actually help make the. They could do it without us, but it's such an amazing opportunity for people to firsthand see not just the work but the fruit of the work. When Ann went with me, we were in Guatemala, and the village we were in, shallow hand dug wells that every time it rained, stuff washed into the wells. And a bunch of people on one side of the village had terrible ulcerative sores on their bodies. And that was because that side of the village was right next to the cemetery. They had these shallow hand dug wells. This is horrible, but the embalming fluid in the bodies would leach into their drinking water.
Wow.
And that's what was causing this. So by the time we left, that problem was solved.
Wow.
They had a clean, safe water source. And we use simple hand pumps. So maintenance is easy, and they have a long life. And so we've got maintenance teams that follow up, but it's an amazing ministry.
And the wells themselves are fairly inexpensive, just in terms of what you think.
I think you can. I'm embarrassed. I'm supposed to know this since I'm on the board, but I think to sponsor a well in Central America is like $8,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Entire village gets clean water for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I'd love my kids to experience that. What a large portion of how a large portion of the world lives. They just had no concept. You get so much in your bubble where. Hey,
I'm back.
Look at that.
there we are.
John didn't even have to Marco Polo.
I was gonna listen. I was gonna go get a newspaper and fix this whole problem. Record it right in front of my face.
I just want to know where you're going to go get a newspaper from.
Yeah, right.
There's some old Houston Chronicles at a Shell down the road next to the door, just stacked up.
I mean, it is the Sunday edition. Usually this was the only one I would get.
That's it. I want
They're actually crazy expensive now. If you look at a newspaper, a Sunday edition is like $15 for a newspaper. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
All right,
Because it's a
where's
historical item within weeks. Like, you
Yeah.
can sell it.
Yeah, David bought some with UGA, some UGA newspapers, and to put up. Hey, Mitch, welcome back.
How about that?
Sorry, we in order to get sponsors, we have to take a break for advertising every once in a while.
That was,
You could have just told me you need to go to the men's room. I'd have waited. Because clearly y'all have moved too on this game.
We needed 10 seconds for station identification.
Well,
That's right. Wow, that's a 90s term if I ever heard it again. Wow. You're going right back to FM radio at the
Oh,
top of the hour.
that's what I did. In Bible college, I worked at my radio station.
Saying.
did you?
I
That's
assume
cool.
our recording just picked up where we left off. It just looks like on my end it did.
Yeah, I see it. Hour and 3
Yeah.
minutes now.
Yeah. Mitch, I want to ask you. I wanted to ask you about this. When I was at North Point, which is a church in Georgia.
Oh, the famous North Point.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody from Living Water came to speak, and this is really all my knowledge of Living Water, but he said he was a club promoter, and had basically came to a breaking point in his life and then kind of turned his life around. I think his parents were pastors, and I don't know if he was the founder of Living Water. Does that sound, am I totally off on that?
I don't know if you're off on it. I've now I'm going to go snoop around. I want to hear that story from whoever it
Yeah.
was.
No, it was, to the point I remember it because it was really cool. Like the guy's life, he was really big, I think, in New York nightlife, and
It wasn't Club Confetti?
You're mixing them up,
It's
Luther.
not fair to use
Two different
that against
stories.
me, fellas. That's just
See, this is the crowd you're in right now, Mitch. Everybody else heard your John Wayne stories. They sent you John Wayne stuff. We are gonna send you a box of confetti once a year, just in a quick, like plastic, like 1 by 1 box, just as a
Spring-loaded.
reminder. Yeah, it's gonna
Spring-loaded.
a load of grief.
We're gonna send one to your wife and one to you, and see which one reacts differently. That's how we're gonna do it. It's gonna be great.
And I'll be sure to give her y'all's contact information.
So, Mitch, I'm curious. Like, man, your story is. I think your story is fascinating, but I think what I'm taken back by in the last 45 minutes is just like your attitude towards life is pretty infectious. And I would just love to hear from your perspective. Like, 16 years old, you got something taken away from you that would have wrecked a lot of people, candidly, whether they were 16 or 46. And not only did you live your life to the fullest and continue to do so, but you've come full circle from what could have been taken as a disadvantage into just giving back so much, not only in your community but across the world with Living Water. And I would just love, like, maybe if you can share with the audience, what your life's perspective, what you try to keep in front of you, to keep that perspective, I guess, in check, and not let the worries of the world get you to a place where some people would have gotten over the challenges that you experienced.
Wow. Okay. I don't want what I'm about to say sound simplistic or like spiritual pablum, but if we could truly grasp how loved we are by the God of the universe, I think everything changes. If we could grasp how forgiven we are by the God of the universe, then everything changes. I used to use the term, I want everything I got coming to me, until I realized that's a terrible thing to say. I don't want what I got coming to me, because it wouldn't be good. But what he gives me is what I don't deserve. This unbelievable grace, this unbelievable love, this unbelievable mercy. We are the beloved children of the God of the universe. It's trite, and I did a message on this one time, and I can't remember where I heard it originally, but I believe it's true. If God had a refrigerator, and maybe he does, he'd have our picture on it. We're special to him, and it's easier to be grateful and hopeful and content when you realize how truly loved we are, without merit and without expectation other than just to receive the gift of God's love. I mean, there's no, we don't have to jump through hoops. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to pursue it. It's just there. And it's up to us whether we pick it up or not. I don't know if that's the whole answer, but I'm pretty convinced that's a pretty significant chunk of that.
What do you feel like has gotten you? Because like let's just say, I mean, we have similar beliefs, all four of us, but like let's just say somebody looking from the outside, what do you feel like it's been the events, the mentality, the thing that has gotten you to the point of understanding that and believing that in your life? Are there any specific moments, or I mean, obviously, we know the story with your hand. Is it that, or I
You
mean,
know, in retrospect, Luther, I think yes, to a significant degree. Um, that could have gone really differently in any number of ways. I could have panicked. I could have passed out. I could have, not been given the wherewithal to stay calm and get the wrench and take the machine apart and walk out and get help. I mean, I could have, I literally could have died in that room because the butchers were gone for the day. It was in a freezer. Shock would have kicked in at some point. And if God had not answered my call when I said, God help,
mm,
there's every chance that was a very different outcome. And then rolling into that, the fact that I was surrounded by people who loved God and who loved me, and God through them loved me, who supported me, who encouraged me, who really wouldn't let me go down that rabbit hole of self-pity. Luther, I think that's certainly a big piece of it. Is some of it just how we're wired? Maybe. But Jesus made it clear that when troubles come, he didn't say if, he said when. We're going to have troubles in this life, and I think that's part of it too. It's just recognizing that this life is really good, but it's not perfect, and it won't be this side of heaven. And so we're doing ourselves a huge favor if we decide, because of all of that, because of God's love, because of His grace, because of His willingness to put people around us, that we just got to roll with the punches. Because I don't like the alternative. The idea that I'm going to let momentary circumstances control my future, because at the end of the day, it all is momentary. This life is momentary, but it can be really good and really fun, and part of that's just making that decision. I'm gonna lean into that part of life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, and by the way, I can be a huge grump. I mean, just ask my wife.
Are you saying we just caught you on a good day, Mitch? Like, what's happening here? I mean,
good day.
well, I mean, I think I speak for all of us, Mitch. This is awesome. I gotta tell, like I said, your attitude about life is infectious. Your stories are incredible, and we just appreciate you being open and sharing your stories, and we appreciate you being part of the Katie Fulcher community and blessing us with who you are. So thanks for being
thank
on.
you, thank you for your openness and vulnerability. I mean, your stories are awesome, but appreciate you sharing them with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit. And I didn't even tell you about jumping out of an airplane. We can save that for another time.
We'll do episode 2.
Okay.
To be continued.
I love it. Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, Mitch.
You bet,
Have a great
Mark.
rest of your
Take
Sunday.
care.
All right.
All right, take care.
So do I log off, or you'll stop the recording, or how does this work?
Yeah, you just log off. Yeah,
Okay.
or
And are we done?
yeah, we're
I
done.
think.
Yeah, you just shut it down. Yeah,
Okay.
on your end.
Where is he?
I appreciate you guys. Let me see if I can
Thanks,
figure out how to
Mitch.
do it.
It's should be on the bottom. little red
There
telephone.
it is. I had to scroll a little bit. Leave. Bye.
Bye.
Love that.
He's fun.
He's got
That was
stories.
full- Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah.
That
It's,
is wild. Losing his hand. The way that story is. That's a bit of a movie
For real.
that's in there.
Yeah. I feel like his life could be a movie. That's a heck of an opening scene. That's a pretty wild.
We just got little nuggets. I don't feel like we were scratching the surface there. I feel like we almost would have to bring him on again because I feel like there's a lot that he's seen a lot of life for sure. Cool attitude though.
All right, Josh, what do you got for us? Dad joke.
No.
Oh,
Me.
Luther's dad joke. Oh, he's got his glasses on.
Yeah, got the glasses
Oh,
on.
okay. Listen, make your joke better than mine was today.
All right.
'cause-
No. Let me stop you right there. It's not a joke. Life's not a joke, John. So, this is a quote. This is a quote from Martin Luther. Okay.
Life's not a joke. Okay, I'm gonna keep it together. Keep going.
All right. I didn't just choose Martin Luther because there's Luther in there, which is cool. But so this is a quote from Martin Luther.
Oh, there it is. That was the joke. That was it.
That was the joke.
Well
I
done,
like it.
Luther.
All right, thanks, y'all.
Guys,
Thank you,
come on.
everybody, for tuning in on today's episode. No,
You guys are gonna miss this. This is a quote from Martin Luther. This is one you could live your life by, and from now on might just be my favorite quote, bumper sticker, the thing. So bringing it down, all seriousness here, Martin Luther. A happy fart never comes from a miserable ass.
That sounds very Martin. I mean, yeah. Which Martin Luther was that? Or was that just
No,
Martin? Was that just
I'm not
Martin?
joking.
Was that just
No.
Martin?
Yes, that show. Yeah, that was a episode of Martin. The
That was
character's
just
name was
Martin.
Luther. Yeah,
Martin.
the character's name on Martin was Luther, and that's a different combination.
Look up Martin Luther. You'll be surprised by how many bowel references there are in his actual quotes.
That's
So,
funny. Well,
That's a literal Martin Luther quote.
Yeah.
I had to look it up multiple places. So a happy fart never comes from a miserable ass.
I had to look it up multiple places. Is amazing. Luther's like, I saw it on TikTok. I couldn't buy it, and then I couldn't.
I don't want
do
to.
it.
I don't want to be in Luther's algorithms now. Like, no.
That's right.
I was
leave
looking
those-
for a real quote, and
We'll
that's
leave
what
those
came
for
up.
you. We'll leave those for you.
That's right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
This has been Faces of Fulshire. Your hosts today were Josh Cullen, John Harper, and Luther Berry. Sound and editing for Faces of Fulshire were meticulously mastered by yours truly. As always, thank you for joining us for this episode, and remember, stay classy, Fulshire.